Hello all. Today we're going to run through a quick training so you members of the City Council have a little more understanding about the fire code and enforcement here in this local region of Mid-Michigan. We're going to identify some concepts of education, enforcement, and engineering. We're going to explain how the code is enforced in our jurisdiction. We're going to describe our local jurisdiction and how it applies code to new and existing occupancies. We're going to identify local organizations that determine fire resistance of building materials. We're going to identify types and tests that they use to determine the fire rating of certain building materials and components. We're going to describe how to test a fire rating and apply it the inspection and code enforcement in our area. We're going to identify characteristics of some of the unsafe structures in our area, and we're going to identify building construction types in our area that pose the biggest hazards and potential conflagration of fire spread. And then we're going to wrap up with some steps we can take to mitigate that. Okay, so the basic fire concepts: education, enforcement, and engineering. Education, this is something that the civilians need. Um, Just if they understand that they need to have assembly areas outside of their house, they need to have a plan in case of fire, they need to take steps um, to prevent fires in their house, shut stoves off. Maybe they understand the importance of in-home fire sprinkling, and then they can decide to have their houses sprinkled. That would be very beneficial as well. Enforcement is just ensuring that the regulations and the codes are followed through inspections and citations. Engineering, this concept basically boils down to ensuring designs are fire resistant, and that's something that's taken into consideration by engineers putting new builds together. For example, engineers can put sprinklers in a grocery store to ensure a fire is put out promptly, but they need to know how far apart those need to be, what kind of water pressure they need. There's lots of stuff that goes into that. So next, let's just talk about our jurisdiction um, and how code is enforced here. So there's a fire department in Elma, um, and they have a few fire inspectors on staff, and really it is their job to inspect and give citations in this jurisdiction. For new and existing occupancies, the fire department should be doing a risk assessment on all these, and that will determine how often these places get inspected. They're going to look at number of people, number of exits, the building material, all this kind of stuff will be taken into consideration in the risk assessment. And the higher the risk or the higher the hazard, the more often they're going to be inspected. And this could be uh, annually, all the way up to once every 5 years. So for new buildings, the fire chief must perform an initial inspection, and then the inspector will perform this in accordance with the risk assessment moving forward after that. Um, and a lot of times around here they'll use Intertech, and this is a nationwide company that tests fire resistant materials. They do other things as well, but really what we use them for is to see how fire resistant some material is, because that can change the risk. If something's going to burn up like paper, then that's a lot higher risk than something that would burn like a brick wall where really only the paint is catching on fire. Um, and they will provide a report with how the material burns. During this test, they use an E84 test. The purpose of this test is to observe the spread of flames along a sample to determine the flammability and relative burning behavior of it. During this test, they will consider flame spread, fire resistance, and reaction to fire. So, really, these fire tests are used, like I said, with the risk assessment. Um, these apply to inspection and code enforcement. These tests do because the inspector must make sure the occupancy is built on out of the correct material. If they're using stuff that's super flammable, it's going to catch fire easy and spread easy. That's not safe at all. If a building was built out of cardboard, it would not be up to code, and the flammability test would prove that it's um, not allowed. So I just want to identify some of the characteristics of some of the unsafe structures we have in this area. So this town is old. downtown especially. There are many old buildings with only an exit in the front and an exit in the back. And we have restaurants downtown. And you get 50, 60 people in one little restaurant. It's pretty crowded. Everybody's talking. You might not be able to hear the warning signs. And also, then there's only two exits to get all those people out. And most people don't know how to get to the back exit. So you're really shoving everybody in the dining area through the front. And that is just not very safe. To alleviate this, I really think all the restaurants and other businesses downtown need to be evaluated for the number of people that they allow to be there at one time. Another thing is downtown, all of the buildings are connected. All the businesses share a wall with another business. If you could even be in between two businesses. And the problem with that is if one of those businesses has a fire, the chance of it spreading to the other businesses is very high because of that. We did have a fire about 10 years ago now, and it actually took out two businesses instead of just one. Really, to alleviate this, we need to look at putting some fire resistant material in between the businesses in those walls. I know that's not up to us, but that is a rule we could put in place and tell everybody, hey, you got to have fire resistant material here by the year 2030. And that is something that would really, really slow the spread of fire and probably save lives and save businesses if a fire were to occur. That's pretty much all I have for you guys today. We covered basic fire safety. We covered some of the jurisdiction specific stuff here. But for the most part, here in Elma, we do follow the NFPA guidelines. So if you have any questions about that, you can consult our fire department's website. You can always give a call to the fire department. Their number's right there. And you can look up the NFPA rules as well. Sometimes you have to pay for them, but sometimes you can get a free trial to look at what you need to look at. But if you guys have any questions, please reach out to me. Bye.